Alright, today I'm going to mount the arrowhead that we made out of the spoon. This is just a dowel from the local hardware store. They're 3/8 of an inch. I like to use those. I don't have a spiner, but you can you get to judge after a little while. And for an emergency crap arrow or something to play with, these work great. You can tell by shooting them. If you make a bunch of them, shoot them in a group at a target. The ones that go left are spined too hard or too high. The ones that go right aren't spined enough, and the ones that fly right down the line are the ones you're after. Me, I just shoot them all. I just remember and mark which ones are which, so you know where they're going. You can check my straightness by looking down it. This one has a bend right about here, that's all right because it's a 36-inch shaft, and that's a bit longer than my draw. So what I'll do is I grab the arrow like this, bring it up. My draw would be right about here. So I don't really want the arrow too much longer in my draw. So right at the end of that black mark, we'll set it and pop the saw out of this. This is my tracker knife, which I kind of like. These are kind of a handy little thing. This saw is great. The saws on these and the Swiss Army knives are outstanding. They're not as fast as some, but it's something you'll have with you in the field if you have to. Because you can do this with straight tree branches and all kinds of stuff. I'm just using the dowel just because it's handy. And I want to show a method of something kind of clean to set that head. Then you cut a slot down it. These are kind of aggressive teeth. You want to be careful doing this, because if you come back on your hand, you're going to say bad things, and it'll leave a wicked cut. Okay, once you get that, then you don't have to do this, but it makes it easier. Like if you're using this to hunt with, you'd really rather want to take the end down. You don't have to, but if you don't, like if you hit an animal with it or something like that, it won't penetrate as deep. And in that game, you want penetration. You want it to go in as far as you can, because that gets that cutting point in. So anything to impede that, you want to take that all the way down. And it don't have to be exactly pretty. If you've got a Swiss Army knife with a file, you can touch all this up with the file and make it just as sweet as you like. We'll just say that this is a crap, I need some arrows, and I'll worry about pretty ones later, because it don't take as long to do this as what you think, or some people take a lot longer to do it. They come out with some really nice work, but I'm wanting something to put some meat in the pot. Okay, you can use pine pitch glue, which you can make up pine pitch, charcoal, and a little bit of heat. Pines aren't real readily available around here, and the one thing that I usually try to carry in my oh shit bag, along with some arrowheads, tanged arrowheads and stuff like that, is liquid nail small project glue. Well, considering I wanted to do this video, I took it out and used it in something else and haven't replaced it yet. Gorilla Grip glue, contact adhesive. This stuff works pretty good too. It bonds almost anything. So we're going to use this to glue it in. You can use hide glue. You can, if you're out in the bush, there's all kinds of different kinds of glue you can make. So don't feel free to just have to use this. This is non-traditional. Of course, this sort of point's non-traditional, but the name of the game is to use what you have, use what works. You'll hear all kinds of people telling you this, telling you that. If it works, great. That's all that really matters. If it's what you have on hand and it works, better yet. Okay, then the glue will hold it in there. Make sure you get it fairly straight. Wipe as much of that crap off as you can. Now, when this is done, go back and sharpen the back half of this. I didn't because I wanted to be able to handle it without cutting myself accidentally. I'm usually wary of the front part, but when I'm working, trying to straighten things up back here, sometimes things happen, so I've just learned to keep that mess out. And then look down it. Once you get it in there and tied, all's good. You can straighten it up until the glue sets. What we're using here, this is artificial sinew. You can use any sort of string inside from the 550 cord. I had this handy because I was using it to make a bowstring, which that video will be going up here eventually. But I've already had this out, so this is what I got hold of. And I do like to carry this in my kit. You can carry a lot of it. It's strong and it's pretty cheap. That big roll right there is like 15 bucks. Okay, start wrapping around. This is like it's like a nylon, I think, and it's wicked strong. And if you smear some glue on the shaft, you can see that it's starting to come through. If you get glue on the shaft, it'll help hold this down and hold it tight. Sometimes you can pull that back through if you form a loop up top. I usually don't. I'll pull a couple of half inches in it up near the head just to hold everything tight. And then smear some glue over it and it will not go anywhere. You want to make sure that that head's straight. Then once you get it wrapped, come back over. Pull that bad boy tight. Another one behind it. Pull that tight. If you run your knots fairly close to this edge, it'll help keep it, because roughly when this goes in, it's cutting, so it'll open the wound up like this. The knots down this side won't impede it or anything along that line. Going in, if you miss, you won't tear your knots out. Alright, once you've got that, take your glue up near the front, put a little bit on there. I'll put a little bit more on that because you will take some of it off as you're doing this. It doesn't take a great deal of glue. If you're using a pine pitch glue or anything like that, you're going to have heat to do this. And if you're using be wary because this will melt in the heat. So it shouldn't with the pine pitch, but you can also coat it in pine pitch and lightly heat it and it'll keep everything held down. Then when you get that, cut it, wait till the glue dries and trim it. And it's already starting to set up. Once that dries, you've got a spoon broadhead on an arrow. This is the right length. When we come back, I'll let this dry in another video. We'll put flights on here. I'll use duct tape that most people carry in their own crap bag, and then we'll knock it. And then once that's set up, we'll knock it and wrap the shaft a little bit at the back to make sure the knock don't split, because it'll be a self knock. Then we'll shoot it. But that's how you mount a spoon head. That's one way.